It all started a few years ago. Our boy Gammon Yoon looks like a model student, but when it comes to actual studying, he's absolutely hopeless. Despite pretending not to care, he desperately wants good grades, but his hard work just isn't paying off. Seeing his struggle, his mom brings in a savior tutor named Hankyong Lee. Our boy acts pretty cold at first, while his mom whispers to the teacher, warning her that Gammon has been into some weird stuff lately. Hankyong isn't fazed by the warnings and starts teaching with incredible patience. Faced with such a gentle teacher, our boy actually focuses, creating a rare, heartwarming moment. But reality is harsh. 2 years later, despite pumping himself up every day and having a great teacher, our boy's grades are still an absolute disaster. Since pure brainpower failed, he had to find another way. To get into college via special admission, our boy was forced to enroll here Yusung Technical High, a chaotic place that looks more like a fight club than a school. Facing this chaotic campus, our boy has a strategy. In a place where everyone is trash at studying, he just needs to be the only one holding a book to become the top student. That's his logic for survival. With this plan in mind, he clutches his textbook and carefully navigates through the delinquents. To survive in this world of carnivores, our boy puts on an act, looking absolutely terrified at the slightest slip-up, just to avoid drawing attention. Just as he's trying to ignore the chaos and focus on his study in hell lifestyle, a new homeroom teacher is announced. Our boy looks up and is completely stunned. The new homeroom teacher walks in, and our boy is stunned. It's Ms. Lee, his former tutor. He remembers how she used to encourage him even when he failed, patting his head and asking about his dreams. Back then, she told him her own dream, to pass the certification exam and become a teacher who truly helps children grow. Our boy never forgot that look of determination in her eyes. But reality is harsh. The delinquents completely ignore her, throwing out cheap insults. Ms. Lee slams her hand on the desk, trying to establish some authority and order. But just as she tries to start the meeting, some punk tosses a spray can across the room. Our boy watches in horror, but before he can do anything, it smacks Ms. Lee right in the head. These guys have zero remorse, laughing it off as a mistake. They're more worried about the spilled mess on the desk than the teacher they just hurt, getting aggressive when she tries to speak up. The classroom instantly turns into a war zone as the ringleader, Hyanu, knocks another student right through the window. Our boy and Ms. Lee are frozen. This isn't a school, it's a fight club. Just as things spiral out of control, a massive teacher nicknamed Tom Kinch steps in. But instead of helping Ms. Lee, he blames her for the chaos, mocking her status as a contract teacher and telling her to clean up the mess. Left with no choice, Ms. Lee swallows her pride and starts cleaning up the broken glass. As she cuts her finger and watches the blood drip, she realizes just how far this hellhole is from her dream of education. Just as Ms. Lee was panic-stricken by the mess, a hand reached out to help. She instinctively thanked him, only to realize the person standing there was. It was our boy Gammon. Neither expected this reunion. Sitting on the bench, Ms. Lee looked uneasy, wondering if leaving her tutoring job for this was a mistake. Even though the school was a dumpster fire, Ms. Lee put on a brave face. She naively believed that with enough kindness, she could steer these lost students back to the right path. Reality hit hard and fast. Hyanu Lee's gang showed up, puffing away. Our boy immediately recognized the danger, knowing these guys were nothing but trouble. Despite her fear, Ms. Lee tried to stand her ground and stop them from smoking. The gang just laughed it off, mocking her and bragging that the school couldn't touch them. She kept pleading about their health, offering to help them quit. Hyanu crushed his cigarette in a mock gesture of compliance, but his eyes were full of contempt, clearly toying with her. The mockery turned into violence instantly. A brutal strike sent Ms. Lee crashing to the ground. Far from stopping, the gang just stood there laughing, enjoying the sight of her humiliation. Seeing her shock and fear, they dug deeper, using her status as a contract teacher to insult her further. In this jungle, her tears only fueled their excitement. Hyanu went as far as patting her head like a pet, lecturing her condescendingly. Watching his mentor getting humiliated like this, our boy's patience finally snapped. The bullies are crossing the line, insulting the teacher and putting their dirty hands on her to demand money. Watching silently, our boy adjusts his glasses, his gaze turning ice cold. Remembering her kindness, he stops holding back. He steps in, placing steady hands on her trembling shoulders, letting these punks know they have to deal with him now. Before they can react, our boy delivers a devastating kick without even taking off his glasses. The bully flies through the air and crashes face first, leaving his friends completely stunned. Ignoring their shock, our boy drops into a perfect Jeet Kyun-do stance, coolly delivering a quote. I make opportunities even in the most hellish situations. It's not just big talk. As he once told his teacher, this is the creed of the legendary Bruce Lee, and the source of his strength. Before the words fade, he strikes again. Another heavy hit lands, and when the remaining goon tries to fight back with a kick, he has no idea how outmatched he is. He might look like a shy nerd, but our boy has spent countless nights training with sandbags and videos for this exact moment. Those muscles aren't for show. No fancy moves needed, just pure speed and power. With one clean strike, the last standing bully is swept away like trash. Dust settles, and the leader is foaming at the mouth, out cold. The terrified minions scramble away in panic, leaving our boy standing tall in the aftermath. With the fight over, our boy switches back from beast mode to his awkward student self. He scratches his head and makes his pitch. Please don't quit, because he desperately needs her help to survive this school and make it to college. While the school's gangs begin to realize their top fighter has been taken down, our boy ignores the looming threats. He looks dead serious, swearing he'll bleed if that's what it takes to keep studying. Hearing such raw determination, the teacher is left speechless and moved to tears. As their hands clasp together in a pact, the prologue ends, marking the true beginning of his brutal and bloody journey to college. The next morning starts early. While everyone else is asleep, our boy is at the park doing an insane workout routine. His form is so perfect that even the passing security guard stops to admire the spectacle. Pull-ups aren't enough apparently. He proceeds to do handstand push-ups on a wobbly spring rider, dripping with sweat. The core strength on display here is absolutely inhuman, leaving the witness stunned. He pushes it a little too far and takes a tumble. Realizing he's running late, he snaps out of his trance, politely says goodbye to his audience, and sprints off in a panic. Back at his apartment, he performs a surgical operation on the door lock. It turns out he removed the batteries earlier just to sneak out without the electronic beep talk about dedication to keeping a secret. Just as his mom storms in, he dive bombs into bed and feigns sleep. A split second later, he puts on his glasses, successfully maintaining his cover as a sleepy, harmless student ready to face another day. Morning comes, but Ms. Lee is running on fumes. With only 3 hours of sleep, she's haunted by the grim warning that the students here are already a lost cause. Still, she forces herself to snap out of it. Even though she's literally shaking with nerves, she reminds herself why she wanted to be a teacher in the first place. In her head, she imagines a warm welcome from the students. In reality, she's standing at the school gate, sweating bullets and terrified to take the first step. While the teacher is having a panic attack, our boy Gammon is starting his own mission. He might look like an average nerd, but he's dead serious about getting into college. To make it, he needs a study group. He scans the classroom like a Terminator. Sleeping guy? Nope. Comic book reader? Pass. Finally, he locks onto the one kid actually studying. He approaches with a friendly smile, asking for some math tutoring. Surprisingly, the kid, Cian, freaks out completely, telling him to get lost and give up on college. Our boy doesn't know the meaning of no, following Cian all the way to the bathroom to plead his case. But before he can finish, a violent interruption cuts him short. Enter Jae Hwang, the local bully. He looks annoyed to see these two talking and immediately orders them to follow him, signaling that things are about to get ugly. While the students are in trouble, Ms. Lee isn't doing much better. She gets caught spacing out in the faculty room and receives a harsh warning from the administration to get her act together. Han-kyung is anxious about the school inspection, only to find exactly what she feared: a group of students causing trouble in the workshop. Stepping inside, she witnesses a brutal scene where delinquents are violently disciplining their own classmates, completely ignoring school rules. Realizing the victims are her students, she tries to intervene, but the bully immediately turns on her, threatening her with an iron pipe. Overwhelmed by fear, her legs give out and she nearly collapses, but a strong hand grabs her just before she hits the ground. Our boy Gammon finally steps in, catching the terrified teacher and casually remarking that the floor is way too dirty for her to fall on. But his reason for helping is hilarious. He only stepped in because the victim looked smart enough to help him get into college. Seeing his future study buddy being bullied, Gammon adjusts his glasses. To protect his dream of college, he has no choice but to fight. This brings up some painful memories for our boy. Back in the day, while everyone else was busy forming study groups and parents were gossiping about grades, things got awkward whenever Gammon's name came up. Despite the awkwardness, Gammon genuinely wanted to improve. He worked up the courage to ask the smart kids for a spot, but the moment they heard his rock-bottom grades, they looked at him like he was a contagion. These honor students were brutal. Even with a members wanted sign right there, they lied to his face saying they were full. To them, tutoring a guy like Gammon wasn't studying. It was charity work that would get them grounded. Our naive boy actually waited by the phone, hopeful. But all he got was a cold, formal text rejection. Being excluded just because he wasn't smart enough stung worse than any heartbreak. Staring at his failed test papers, the frustration finally boiled over. He didn't understand he wanted to study so badly and was willing to work for it, so why wouldn't anyone give him a chance? Seeing other students sharing notes and helping each other just rubbed salt in the wound. For someone desperate to learn but locked out of the system, watching their camaraderie was pure torture. If he couldn't join them, he'd have to find another way. Walking beside Ms. Lee, Gammon clenched his fist tightly. If asking nicely didn't work, he was ready to fight literally for his right to study. But that clenched fist totally freaked Ms. Lee out. Seeing his intensity, she panicked, thinking he was about to start brawling right there on campus, and immediately jumped in to stop the violence. Han-Kyeon Lee, usually the passive teacher, finally steps up. He grabs the bully's wrist, deciding that as a teacher, he can't just stand by and watch his student get hurt today. Knowing he can't win a fistfight, the teacher improvises with a fire extinguisher. The sudden cloud of smoke blinds the bullies, creating pure chaos and a perfect distraction. By the time the smoke clears, the teacher and student are long gone. It wasn't the most heroic exit, but he managed to drag the kid to safety while the bullies were still confused. Once they're safe, our boy Gammon suddenly pops up. He'd been following them the whole time, not to help, but to aggressively recruit the rescued student for his study group. The student looks at them in disbelief. He explains they just messed with the children of the white lead executives, the untouchable rulers of the school, and now they're all doomed. But Gammon's priorities are completely skewed. He ignores the terrifying gang warning and focuses on his only fear, that his potential study partner might get scared and transfer away. Instead of gratitude, the student lashes out. He argues that this interference will only make things worse, as the bully will now come back with a vengeance to finish what he started. He turns to leave, dropping a harsh truth bomb. In this hellhole of a school, survival comes first. Studying is a luxury he simply can't afford when his life is on the line. Cornered by the bullies, and questioned about the masked man, Seon is terrified. Yet, despite the evidence on the ground, he desperately lies to protect his savior's identity. Even under pressure, Seon screams that he doesn't know him. Hiding behind the mask, our boy is stunned, realizing that this timid student is actually trying to protect him from expulsion. The bully loses patience and grabs Seon, threatening extreme violence. Our boy realizes that right now, ensuring their survival is far more important than keeping his head down for college. Before the bully can land a hit, he gets sent flying with a massive impact. Our boy steps into the fray, mask off, ready to finish what was started. Seon is in total shock. He can't wrap his head around the fact that the fierce fighter in the welding mask and the quiet nerd Gammon are actually the same person. With his secret out, our boy adjusts his glasses and makes an offer. He'll handle the violence so Seon can focus purely on studying. So won't you join my study group? Looking back at the moments leading up to the fight, it was Seon's desperate attempt to protect Gammon's identity that finally pushed our boy to stop hiding and start fighting. Trying to be polite, our boy lifts his hat to introduce himself, but clumsily smacks the girl right in the face with it. The bystander is horrified, wondering if Gammon has a death wish. Completely ignoring the accidental assault, our boy pushes up his glasses and starts his recruitment pitch. You want to go to college, right? Then I have a survival plan for you. Her response is a lethal swing with a weapon. Yet, our boy casually leans back, dodging the attack by a hair's breadth, while the bystander watches in total disbelief. The scene is surreal. He keeps rambling about study schedules, while effortlessly dodging a barrage of attacks, treating her lethal strikes like minor interruptions. The girl realizes something terrifying. He's not just dodging randomly. He's predicting her every move before she even makes it, all while looking like a total nerd. Furious at his nonchalance, she snaps. She screams that he doesn't understand this hellhole at this school. Logic means nothing, only raw violence and fists dictate the rules. She smashes the wall equipment to prove her point and swings at him again. But our boy catches her wrist midair, looking genuinely distressed not by the fight, but because she won't listen to his pacifist plea. Shocked that her attack was stopped so easily, she tries to pull away, but his grip is iron tight. She's finally realizing that this nerd is a lot more dangerous than he looks. Caught off guard, our boy barely breaks a sweat blocking the surprise attack, delivering a sharp counter that instantly proves he's in a league of his own. With the threat handled, our boy turns to Cian with a simple offer: let me handle the fighting, and you just join my study group. Flashbacks of being mocked for trying to learn flood Cian's mind, until he finally screams the truth he's been hiding. He wants to study. Our boy is thrilled to finally have a member, but the school bell ruins the moment, sending him into a panic about being late for class. Prioritizing attendance over everything, he dashes off instantly, leaving Jaiwa completely confused about the identity of the fighter who just humbled her. Meanwhile, news of the defeat reaches the top. Hamwell Pai, the ruthless ruler of the school, steps out, clearly unimpressed that his heavy hitter lost. Hamwell looks down at the defeated Jae Huang, showing zero sympathy for his subordinate, who practiced kickboxing for 4 years yet still lost. He ruthlessly strikes his own man to assert dominance, realizing that the mysterious fighter causing all this trouble must be the same person. Meanwhile, the school's shadow rulers are watching from the sidelines. They find this sudden burst of freshman spirit amusing, just waiting for the bitter reality to crush our boy's hopes. On the other side of campus, the dean is having a meltdown. Forced to clean up trash for an inspection, he's humiliated and desperate to find a scapegoat to vent his frustration on. Sensing the danger, Ms. Lee rushes to the mechanic room. She knows if the dean sees the mess our boy left behind, he'll be expelled, so she frantically tries to scrub away the evidence. Remembering Gammon's desperate plea to just let him study, she steels herself. She has to protect him at all costs. After all, he's the very first member of her future study group. But luck isn't on her side. The dean walks in right as she's cleaning. Caught off guard and acting suspicious, she stammers, trying to explain why a math teacher is hiding in the shop. The dean looks past her and spots the disaster. Seeing the expensive equipment covered in fire extinguisher foam, he flies into a rage, screaming for the head of the student responsible. Fate has terrible timing. Our boy tries to slip away, but the dean spots him instantly. He corners Gammon, demanding to know who wrecked the room, ready to hand out punishment. Desperate, Ms. Lee screams that it was her fault to save him. But our boy isn't the type to hide behind his teacher. He pulls down his hood and calmly looks the dean in the eye. It was me. While things are tense inside, there's a smooth operator working his magic in the hallway. This guy in the hoodie flashes a charming smile and spins a quick story to cover up a mess, leaving the confused staff nodding along before they even realize they've been played. Back in the classroom, our boy Gammon is fighting his toughest battle yet, middle school math. Despite his serious attitude, his academic skills are tragic. Even his tutor can't help but roast him, pointing out that for someone so determined, he is absolutely dense when it comes to studying. Looking at Gammon's clearly trained physique, the tutor finally asks the obvious question: why bother studying? Our boy pushes up his glasses and earnestly explains that he only built a healthy body to have the stamina for studying, a logic that leaves the tutor completely speechless. Just as Gammon starts doubting his own intelligence, the hoodie guy slams a secret weapon onto the desk. It's a handwritten notebook packed with fundamental concepts. The promise is simple: master this guide, and our boy might just upgrade from hopeless to slightly less dense. But the peaceful study session is violently interrupted. A chair comes flying out of nowhere, smashing right into Gammon's head and knocking his glasses off. The long-haired thug, Jae Won-ju, kicks the door down and demands everyone leave, clearly looking for a fight. It turns out this guy is here to settle a score, ranting about how a big shot like him couldn't possibly lose to a nobody. While he screams in rage, Gammon touches his bleeding forehead and the look in his eyes shifts. Interrupting his study time was a massive mistake. Not content with just beating our boy to a pulp, this long-haired thug crosses the line by setting fire to Gammon's precious study notes, mocking them as nothing more than useless firewood. Meanwhile, Ms. Lee catches the scent of smoke. Nearby, the school inspector is grilling the administration about their failing reputation, making the corrupt officials sweat nervously. Just as the inspector threatens an investigation, he bumps into Ms. Lee. Recognizing her familiar face, he's about to ask questions when the panicked director frantically interrupts to drag him away. The officials try to hustle away quietly, but their plan is ruined when a panicked student rushes in screaming about a fire, pointing directly at the smoke billowing from a classroom. Inside, our boy is devastated as he watches his future turn to ash. To the thug, it's just garbage, and he continues to mock Gammon without realizing he's about to cross a fatal line. That's it. Gammon's patience finally snaps. With a look of pure murderous intent, He tells the bully that he is the only piece of firewood that needs to be burned today. Back outside, the news of the fire hits the officials like a ton of bricks. The corrupt director's face goes pale, realizing this situation is spiraling completely out of control. While the inspector questions the fire alarm, the corrupt school administrators frantically try to cover it up, spinning ridiculous lies about fireflies to save their own skins. Ms. Lee isn't fooled for a second. Sensing real danger, she grabs Cian and rushes toward the classroom, desperate to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. When they finally arrive breathless at the scene, they find the doorway blocked by a crowd of students, all watching the intense standoff unfolding inside. In the center of the chaos stands our boy, clutching his charred study notes. His calm demeanor, as he looks at his ruined hard work, is far more terrifying than any scream. Gammon casually tosses the burning notebook aside. To him, the destroyed knowledge has been reduced to nothing more than useless firewood. Before anyone can react, our boy turns his rage into action, slamming the burning remnants straight into the culprit with a brutal, decisive strike. Even as Ms. Lee arrives, Gammon refuses to back down. With a cold, sweaty glare, he warns everyone to get out, clearly intending to finish this fight alone. Watching Gammon face the danger alone, Cian clenches his fists in shame. He hates his own cowardice for freezing up when his friend needed him most. But the bloody bully stumbles back up. Instead of backing down, he mocks the burning backpack, seemingly unaware that he's only adding fuel to Gammon's fury. The guy in the jumpsuit is throwing a flurry of strikes, but he's getting annoyed. Despite taking hits and bleeding, our boy Gammon isn't even looking at him. He's completely fixated on his destroyed notebook. Being ignored makes the bully snap, but the moment he grabs Gammon's hair, our boy retaliates with a devastating palm strike that sends the big guy flying, leaving the spectators in shock. They scramble on the ground, but the vibe has completely shifted. Staring at the smoking wreckage of his desk, Gammon's expression turns from shock to pure, unadulterated rage. These guys really messed up. Gammon stands up and stomps furiously on the burning desk. That notebook wasn't just paper to him. It was his one chance at studying, and now it's turning into ash because of these thugs. The bully is still screaming for attention, but our boy only has one demand. Pointing straight at them, Gammon commands with ice-cold fury, "Apologize to Cian." The gang doesn't get it at all. They start mocking Cian for running away, and the girl even adds fuel to the fire, laughing that the precious notebook is nothing more than firewood. So much for talking. The bully swings a chair, but Gammon steps in with a lightning-fast KUNE counter. The weird angle of the punch catches the guy off guard, leaving him stumbling and confused. Realizing he can't win in a fair fight, the desperate bully grabs a piece of burning debris and charges. But Gammon is ready if they want to play with fire. He's about to show them what getting burned really means. Reacting instantly to the fiery ambush, a devastating counterkick connects perfectly, sending the attacker flying backward. The impact is massive. The arsonist crashes into the debris like a ragdoll, leaving Ms. Lee and the students in total shock. Before anyone can intervene, the culprit is pinned down and pummeled right as the school inspector walks in to witness the brutality. The vice principal's plan collapses instantly. The inspector has now witnessed both the arson and the unchecked violence firsthand. Back in the office, the furious vice principal slams his desk, pinning all the blame on Ms. Lee for ruining the inspection. Terrified by the inspector making a call outside, the vice principal roughly shoves Ms. Lee aside, caring only about saving his own skin. Watching him leave, Ms. Lee's expression turns ice cold as she realizes the rot in this school goes all the way to the top. Remembering Gammon, who just wanted to study but had his notes burned by bullies, Ms. Lee can no longer suppress her rage. The vice principal runs right into the returning inspector, while Ms. Lee watches from the shadows, sensing a turning point. The school administration is in panic mode dealing with the inspector, who seems particularly interested in the culprit behind the fire, and demands to see our boy and Ms. Lee immediately. While the teacher outside is losing his mind over the inspection, our boy is hiding inside, terrified that his momentary outburst might actually get him expelled this time. Suddenly, Cian slides the door open. Despite being timid, he insists on sharing the burden as a study group member, leaving our boy touched by his unexpected loyalty. When asked why he went so far, Gammon finally admits the truth. He wasn't fighting for himself, but because he couldn't stand seeing Cian's hard work destroyed. Our boy knows his own notes are a mess, unlike Cian's perfectly organized guide. The thought of that genuine effort going up in flames was what really made him snap. Seeing Gammon's regret, Cian shyly reveals that he actually managed to salvage the important items while cleaning up the messy classroom earlier, Gammon takes a moment to properly thank Cian. It's not just about the notes. It's the official formation of their alliance as they promise to do well together moving forward. But the heartwarming moment is cut short as the stressed-out dean storms in screaming, scaring the living daylights out of our duo and ending their chat instantly. To protect the school's image, the vice principal throws our boy under the bus, accusing him of senseless violence right in front of the inspector. Just as the vice principal is about to seal our boy's fate, Ms. Lee can't stay silent anymore. She breaks protocol and interrupts the conversation. She exposes the ugly truth. The so-called victim is actually a gang-linked bully who terrorizes the school. This revelation sends the vice principal into a cold sweat. Desperate to save face, the vice principal tries to silence her and demands our boy's immediate expulsion. Seeing such injustice, Ms. Lee finally snaps. She calls out the school's hypocrisy. Protecting students matters more than politics. She vows to fight this to the bitter end, even if it costs her job. Her passionate defense catches the inspector's attention. He finally realizes who she is, the legendary top scorer of the teacher certification exam. While tensions rise in the office, students gather outside the infirmary. It turns out the bully our boy disciplined is lying inside, in rough shape. Some goons are busy mocking Jae-won for losing to a freshman. But their gossip session is cut short when two heads get slammed together. Someone clearly wants some peace and quiet. Meanwhile, Jae-won wakes up and absolutely refuses to accept his defeat. Fueled by rage and humiliation, he storms toward the nurse's office, screaming for a rematch with the skinny punk who humiliated him. He kicks the door open, ready to throw hands, but freezes immediately. The room is packed, and the awkward silence hits harder than any punch could. The corrupt director is there, trying to save face in front of an inspector. Ignoring the raging bully, he starts poking our boy's forehead, desperately painting Gammon as the violent villain to cover his own incompetence. Just as our boy is forcing himself to endure the humiliation for his diploma, Teacher Lee steps up. She cuts off the director, firmly defending Gammon as a diligent student who was forced into a corner by the school's violence. But the truth hurts, and the director snaps. In a shocking display of cowardice, he slaps Teacher Lee right across the face for daring to speak up. Even though she's trembling uncontrollably, Teacher Lee refuses to back down. She calls out the administration. If the school ignores the violence and forces students to fight for survival, then their education is a complete lie. The director completely loses it. He can't believe a mere contract teacher is challenging his authority, and he starts screaming like a lunatic, shedding the last of his dignity. Instead of getting angry, the mysterious inspector just bursts out laughing. He seems thoroughly entertained watching the vice principal get scolded by a brand new contract teacher. After having his laugh, the inspector drops a bombshell. Ms. Lee isn't just a contract teacher. She was the top scorer in the national certification exams. The vice principal looks like his brain just short-circuited. The inspector continues to expose her past, revealing that she turned down prestigious offers from the Seoul Education Department to come to this specific school. Han-kyung is stunned that he knows so much. The question hits home. Han-kyung remembers why she gave up everything to come here, her simple dream of helping kids grow. The inspector figured out that she came specifically to change this corrupt school. The vice principal furiously mocks her ambition, reminding her she's just a contract teacher. But Han-kyung ignores him, thinking of our boy Gammon and his desperate plea to study. That's where she needs to start. With renewed resolve, she announces her plan. She's starting a study group with none other than Gammon Yoon. The vice principal is completely baffled. He can't process the words violent kid and study group in the same sentence. The vice principal protests violently, looking to the inspector for backup. But the inspector just checks his watch and casually shuts him down. It's a good idea. Do it. The vice principal is sweating bullets trying to appease the man in black, who seems dangerously interested in the new contract teacher, Ms. Lee. Inside the car, the gray-haired man calmly wipes fresh blood from his hands, reporting to father, as if the brutal massacre he just committed was merely a way to kill time. The blood on his hands is a literal message left for the school, and back on campus, the recipients have just discovered the gruesome delivery. Finding their man beaten to a pulp and hanging in the air like a trophy, the muscle-bound gangster flies into a rage. This isn't just a beating, it's a declaration of war. While the villain talks about forcing the school to take responsibility, the scene cuts to our boy and Ms. Lee, who are taking real responsibility by handwriting posters for their new study group. Our boy complains that handwriting is outdated, but Ms. Lee insists on sincerity. Soon enough, Their heartfelt recruitment posters are plastered all over the hallway. Of course, the delinquents just laugh it off or get suspicious. They're convinced this study group is just a trap set by our boy to find fresh victims to beat up, not realizing he's dead serious. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure lurks in the shadows, staring at the study group poster with pure disgust. For him, seeing students dream of a better future is repulsive, and he's itching to tear those hopes apart. It's finally the weekend, and Ms. Lee decides to pay a visit to our boy's neighborhood. But before she can even say hello, her attention is caught by an intense figure sprinting past at incredible speed. To her surprise, it's our boy Gammon. He might look like a nerd in class, but underneath that jacket, he's absolutely ripped. Seeing him casually doing handstands on the parallel bars leaves the teacher completely speechless. Startled by Ms. Lee's sudden appearance, Gammon loses his balance and crashes hard to the ground. He scrambles up, looking totally embarrassed and wondering if he mixed up the tutoring schedule. But Ms. Lee isn't here to scold him. With a mysterious smile, she tells our confused boy to just follow her lead. She has a plan to help with those upcoming midterms. Turns out, she brought him to a massive bookstore. Once inside, the former top student goes into full teacher mode, zooming around the shelves to pick out the perfect study materials for our boy. Gammon tries to get distracted by a Bruce Lee book, but Ms. Lee just adds it to the cart. Moments later, a literal mountain of textbooks slams onto the table with a heavy thud, leaving our boy sweating bullets. Looking at the impossible stack, Gammon wonders if he can survive this. But Ms. Lee isn't worried at all. After all, he's being tutored by the legendary top scorer of the national teacher's exam. Ms. Lee gets a bit shy from the praise, humbly admitting that she's not perfect and still has a lot to learn as a teacher. Determined to help him succeed, she vows to be a great tutor. But when our boy tries to run away from studying, she immediately shuts him down with a swift book smack. That hit actually hurt. While our boy nurses his head, Ms. Lee quickly switches back to her cheerful self, encouraging him that they just need to work hard together. After treating him to a meal, Ms. Lee arrives home in high spirits. Clutching her new books, she feels hopeful about changing the school, unaware of the danger ahead. But the moment she steps inside, something feels off. There are strange signs of entry at the door, and an ominous vibe fills the house. Meanwhile, our boy is suffering from the spicy food they just ate. But panic truly sets in when he realizes his precious Bruce Lee interview magazine is missing. Back at Ms. Lee's place, her living room has been taken over by masked intruders. The orange-haired delinquent sits there arrogantly, clearly looking for trouble. While our boy debates if he should disturb her on a weekend to get his book, Ms. Lee is in immediate danger as the thug threatens to crush her right then and there. Luckily, impatience saves the day. Unable to wait for his magazine, our boy makes the crucial decision to head straight to her house right now. At the villain's hideout, Sanjin is absolutely losing it, screaming for blood. But Hamill, the white-haired leader, is chilling on the couch and just finds the shouting annoying. Sanjin is furious because their crew member, Jae Wong, got beaten to a pulp by our boy. He wants revenge, but Hamill coldly shuts him down, showing zero interest in backing up a loser. To Hamill, anyone who gets beaten up is just dead weight to be cut loose. Instead of wasting time on revenge, he's found a new source of entertainment, watching how people change when pushed. His sights are now fully set on our boy Gammon. To test just how far the quiet student will go, Hamill decides to target the people around him first, deploying his hit squad. Suddenly, the door is kicked open. Ms. Lee is caught completely off guard as the thugs barge in, grinning maliciously and ready to settle a score from the past. Realizing the danger, she desperately tries to call the police, but she's not fast enough. One of the thugs snatches her phone and smashes it, cutting off her only lifeline. Ms. Lee is paralyzed with fear as the thugs torment her, cruelly pointing out that even if the police come, the trauma they inflict will last forever. The threats turn physical immediately. They pin her down and grab her hair, vowing to leave her with enough trauma to make her quit teaching for good. Just as Ms. Lee cries out for help, a loud crash interrupts them. A mysterious hooded figure stands in the doorway, and the thugs wonder if it's that same student from last time coming back for more. But it's not our usual hero. It's a blonde guy wearing their own school's windbreaker. He mocks their boss, Hamel Pie, confusing the thugs who can't figure out whose side he's on. Before they can react, the newcomer strikes. He lands a devastating punch right on the masked thug's face, proving instantly that his arrival is no coincidence. The leader realizes this intruder isn't playing around. But the hooded fighter gives them no time to recover, stomping forward and readying his next attack. He strikes again, targeting the orange-haired thug's specific weak point on his right side. It turns out he's done his homework and knows exactly where to hit to cause the most pain. The thug, previously so arrogant, is now trembling in pain. Watching from the floor, Ms. Lee realizes this mysterious savior seems to know dark secrets about the school that no one else should. The situation spirals out of control instantly. Using shattered glass as a distraction, the attacker lands a heavy blow, leaving both our boy and his ally down and bleeding. But worse than the physical pain is the realization the teacher is missing too. Ignoring their injuries, the team scrambles to their feet. They have to go after her immediately. Our boy is briefly distracted by missing out on a Bruce Lee magazine, but the moment he hears the teacher is in danger, his gaze sharpens. Playtime is over. Meanwhile, a group of thugs has cornered Jaewoo in the hallway. They're too busy running their mouths about the teacher to realize they're standing next to a huge threat. As the thugs spew trash talk, the leader suddenly freezes. He stares at the silent figure in the hoodie standing next to the girl, and recognition strikes. Pure fear washes over the thug's face. He recognizes the hoodie. It's a nightmare from his past, a legendary fighter he knows he shouldn't have crossed. Panicked, the thug decides to strike first. He launches a desperate flying kick at the hooded figure, hoping to take him out before the legend can fight back. The masked gray-haired guy is brutal. He's thrashing his opponent so hard that he even broke his own weapon in the process, leaving the guy on the floor completely helpless. Jaewoo watches in horror, but the violence isn't stopping. On the masked man's command, the rest of the gang arms themselves and prepares to finish off the lone orange-haired fighter. Before Jaewoo can even think about calling the police, the gang launches a full-scale assault. The orange-haired guy is tough, but he's completely outnumbered and getting overwhelmed. Jaewoo is frozen in shock and despair. She can't understand how these students, who were once innocent kids, have turned into such monsters. Just as the orange-haired guy is about to collapse, a hand grabs him out of nowhere. It's our boy Gammon, but he's not here to play hero. He slams the guy to the ground just because he thinks he has his textbook. Everyone is confused. The villains are terrified to see this monster, and Jaewoo is speechless. Meanwhile, our boy calmly explains that he just tracked them down to retrieve his study materials. While Jaewoo tries to explain that the orange-haired guy is actually an ally, Gammon is still totally clueless about the situation. But while they're chatting, the villains see an opening to strike. The orange-haired guy reacts instantly. Seeing an ambush from behind, he tackles our boy to save him, thinking Gammon is just a clueless nerd about to get hurt. Chaos erupts as two guys hit the floor hard. Our boy, who was just trying to move his precious study materials, is caught in the middle, desperately trying not to drop his boxes. Before our boy can catch his breath, the gray-hooded fighter launches another attack. His staff strikes are lightning fast, leaving the chain-wielding guys struggling to keep up with the overwhelming speed. With a dull thud, the hooded fighter pins the chain down effortlessly. He stares coldly, confused as to why these guys are fighting so desperately over some makeshift weapons. Spotting an opening, a bald thug grabs a soju bottle for a sneak attack. But it's a rookie move. Before he can even swing, he gets shut down, and the bottle shatters instantly. Our boy is totally confused by the violence. But the moment he hears someone mention transfer from America, his study brain activates. Forget the fight, he just found a potential English tutor. Just as things settle, the roar of a motorcycle signals incoming reinforcements. But our boy is ready, spinning his makeshift study shield so fast it's sparking off the ground. Meanwhile, safe in the office, the teacher finds our boy's notebook. Seeing the detailed study schedule, she chuckles. Little does she know he's fighting a war outside just to stick to that to-do list. Cutting back to Ms. Lee, she notices a tiny, scribbled detail in the notebook checklist: nunchuck training. Turns out our boy had actually prepared for this exact scenario, treating this fight like just another subject to study. Back in the fight, these thugs make the classic mistake of judging a book by its cover. They rush in thinking he's an easy target, but Gammon's makeshift nunchucks are already a blur, landing heavy hits on their faces before they can even react. Watching from the sidelines, the masked man realizes something shocking. In the split second before the fight, Gammon had silently passed him the bag to keep it safe. Was he planning to take on this entire mob alone from the start? The brawl rages on, but it doesn't matter how they attack. Our boy is in the zone, his eyes sharp and his weapon moving with terrifying precision, knocking back anyone foolish enough to step within range. With one final, heavy strike, the chaos comes to a halt. Gammon stands amidst the wreckage, sweating but focused, while the masked man can only stare in disbelief at the one-man army standing before him. Bodies are scattered everywhere, groaning in pain, a testament to an unbelievable difference in skill. But true to form, our boy isn't celebrating victory. He's just disappointed that his homemade weapon broke mid-fight, ruining his practice session. Just then, Ms. Lee rushes onto the scene, panicked. Seeing the devastation and Gammon standing in the center of it, she runs over frantically, checking him for injuries, terrified that her student might be hurt, even though he insists he's totally fine. Just as our boy and Jaiwoo arrive on the scene, they witness a brutal sight. The mystery masked man is mercilessly beating Hyunu with a glass bottle. The masked man pins Hyunu down, interrogating him about a specific murder case. It's clear this isn't just a fight. It's a cold-blooded interrogation fueled by revenge. Seeing that Hyunu won't talk, the masked man picks up a crowbar. His cold eyes signal that he's done playing games and is ready to get lethal. Hyunu is absolutely terrified as the weapon hovers above him. He begs for mercy, but the masked man isn't bluffing, he's ready to crack a skull. With a roar about broken promises, the masked man puts all his strength into one final, deadly swing of the crowbar. A loud thud echoes through the neighborhood. Jaiwoo is too scared to even look, assuming the worst has just happened. But the blow never lands. Our boy steps in at the last second, catching the weapon mid-swing with a firm grip. He looks dead serious. That's enough. The masked man sighs and pulls back. When questioned, he drops a bombshell: "My mom died," leaving our boy completely stunned by the sudden revelation. The mysterious gray-haired fighter has clearly run out of patience with our boy's interference. With a lethal glare, he issues a final ultimatum: take the woman and get lost, or else. Looking at the chaos around him, the stranger reveals the dark reason for his brutality. His mother was murdered. The weight of that confession instantly freezes the atmosphere. The word murder hits them like a truck. Both Ms. Lee and our boy are stunned, realizing this isn't just a simple gang fight, it's a blood feud fueled by a tragedy they never saw coming. While Ms. Lee tries to process the horror, the gray-haired Avenger isn't interested in sympathy. He coldly warns them that nothing moral high grounds or interference will stop him from getting what he wants. Suddenly, things take a wild turn. Our boy snaps into action, but instead of fighting the gray-haired guy, he grabs the already beaten blonde thug and slams him violently against the wall. Fueled by pure righteous fury, our boy thinks he's holding the murderer. He screams at the terrified thug, demanding answers with an intensity that even catches the actual Avenger off guard. The blonde thug is trembling in fear, begging for his life. Watching this spectacle, the gray-haired guy looks genuinely confused, wondering if our boy is a genius or an idiot for thinking this low-level punk could be a killer. Pointing at the thug's uncontrollably shaking legs, the gray-haired guy drops the truth bomb. This guy is just a coward who bullies the weak to feel superior, definitely not cold-blooded killer material. The mysterious fighter isn't interested in mercy. He believes the only way to deal with these cowards is to inflict enough fear right at the start, so they never dare to cross him again. In stark contrast, Jaiwoo Lee argues against this brutal form of just punishment. She warns that if they let anger drive their actions, they'll become no better than the monsters they're fighting. But her words fall on deaf ears. For the gray-haired vigilante, some evils are too deep for the law to reach, and he's willing to get his hands dirty to cleanse them. Having dealt with the lackeys, the vigilante disappears into the night. He knows the real threat is still out there, a wolf in sheep's clothing pulling the strings from the shadows. Making a call from the shadows, he grins. He realizes that these kids were corrupted by a single poisonous source, and that's exactly where he needs to strike next. With the evidence handed over to the police, the weekend chaos finally subsides. But as soon as Monday rolls around, our boy is immediately hit with a new crisis at school. The school administration has issued an ultimatum: recruit 5 members, or the study group gets disbanded immediately. Just as hope seems lost, the teacher remembers that someone had actually reached out to join. Our boy eagerly asks who the potential recruit is, but when he hears the name Jaiwoo Lee, his soul leaves his body. Of all people, the notoriously tough girl is joining their nerd club. Meanwhile, Ms. Lee has her own plans in motion. She waits confidently in the faculty office, having summoned a very specific student to see her. It's Hyunu Lee, the fallen top student. Even though he complains about being interrupted during his ramen, he's curious enough to hear what the teacher wants. Back to our boy Gammon. He and Peter are lurking outside the girls' classroom. In this strictly segregated school, crossing the line to recruit a female member feels like a suicide mission. Just as they panic about how to proceed, someone helpfully calls out Jaiwoo for them. But hearing that name, their expressions instantly shift from hope to pure terror. As the girl turns around, their worst fears are confirmed. It's her, the twin sister of the infamous Hyeno Lee. In this gangster school, her reputation is just as terrifying as her monster of a brother. Our boy instinctively feels that this recruitment mission is about to go horribly wrong. Before they can even react, a loud slap echoes from the classroom. The sudden violence leaves our guys stunned, confirming their belief that she's dangerous. But wait, the situation isn't what it seems. The infamous Jiwoo isn't the bully. She's actually being cornered by a gum-chewing girl demanding her completed math homework. The bully snatches Jiwoo's treasured midterm preparation plan and throws it onto the filthy floor like trash. In this school, trying to study is apparently the biggest sin. Back in the classroom, the tension is suffocating. The black-haired bully isn't just using words. She gets physical, grabbing the girls and making it clear she's looking for a fight. The other students watch in fear, too scared to intervene. The bully's grip is shockingly strong, and she doesn't care about the pain she's inflicting, using violence as her only language. It turns out this bullying is about collecting a debt for her brother. To add insult to injury, she throws the carefully written study plan on the floor and disrespectfully spits her gum right onto it. That spit didn't just hit the paper, it hit a nerve. Suddenly, our boy Gammon appears at the window like a horror movie villain, looking absolutely devastated not by the bullying, but by the ruined study notes. Before anyone can react, Gammon is inside. Ignoring the heavy atmosphere, he picks up the planner with pure admiration, asking the victim, "Did you write this? This midterm plan is actually incredible." The room is totally confused. Some recognize him as the guy who beat Jae Hwang, but most are just baffled. A male bully steps up, demanding to know why Gammon is talking to his girlfriend. Faced with a classic tough guy confrontation, our boy chooses a tactical retreat. Mission accomplished on identifying Jiwoo, so he laughs awkwardly, grabs his friend Peter, and bails, leaving the crowd thinking he's just a coward who ran away. Facing the aggressive student council bully, Jiwoo is trembling with suppressed rage. The guy isn't letting up, forcing her to extend her hand for public humiliation. Just as the ruler is about to strike, a loud smack echoes. But it's not her hand getting hit, it's a piece of gum, launched perfectly onto the bully's forehead. Before the guy can explode, our boy steps up, adjusting his glasses. He drops a crazy, "She's my girlfriend," excuse to intervene, but that cold stare says he's not joking. Hearing such a bold claim from a nerd, the bully bursts into manic laughter. He clearly thinks our boy is out of his mind for trying to stand up to him. The fight is cut short when the dean barges in, forcing the bully to back off. But as he leaves, he shoots a glare that promises our boy will pay for this later. The crisis is over, but the gossip is overwhelming. Humiliated, Jiwoo runs out of the classroom, leaving her worried friend and our boy watching in silence. Back in a quiet spot, Peter freaks out about Gammon throwing gum at a council member. Meanwhile, our boy just sips his drink, insisting he couldn't watch a teammate get hit. Their conversation is interrupted when Jiwoo's friend comes running up to them. She looks out of breath and nervous, like she's about to drop some important news. It turns out the application wasn't actually from Jiwoo. As the girl breaks down in tears, begging for help, our boy realizes the situation is much more desperate than he thought. Her name is Hee-won, and she's been a target for bullies since middle school. She thought coming here would be a fresh start, but instead, the nightmare only got worse as she became a walking ATM for the gangs. Just when Hee-won had given up hope, Jiwoo stepped in. She didn't waste time with words. She immediately grabbed the bully and delivered a devastating shoulder throw that silenced the entire room. It turns out Jiwoo is a trained judo fighter. But she didn't just protect Hee-won with violence. She encouraged her to study and build confidence, teaching her that getting stronger is the only way to survive. But peace didn't last long. Jiwoo's twin brother got into deep debt with the student council, and the slimy Jujin used a compromising video on a USB to blackmail and control her completely. Jiwoo endured every humiliation silently to protect her family. Hee-won couldn't stand watching her friends suffer anymore, and decided to make one last desperate move before she transfers to another school. With her family moving away, Hee-won can no longer stay by her friend's side. Trembling with emotion, she entrusts her final wish to our boy. Please save Jiwoo and study with her in Hee-won's place. While his friends are sweating bullets about the risks, our boy is locked in. He knows Jiwoo is living in hell right now, so he decides to step up and clear the path for her and everyone else to focus on studying. Meanwhile, Teacher Lee goes straight to the top, confronting Hamel Pie about the blackmail video in Hyanu. But the silver-haired villain plays it cool, acting completely innocent to dodge her interrogation. Hamel is playing 4D chess here. Instead of slipping up, he analyzes the teacher's anxiety and figures out exactly who she's trying to protect, Jaewook Lee from the first year. She came for answers, but accidentally handed him a target. Over in the student council room, Jujin is gloating over the USB, fantasizing about how he's going to use the blackmail video. But his creepy celebration is cut short when the door creaks open, and a terrifying eye peeks through the gap. Rewind a few minutes. Peter is desperately trying to explain to our boy that the student council here isn't for planning school dances. It's a fortress for Hamel's thugs, a place regular students are too terrified to even look at. But Peter's warnings backfire completely. Instead of being scared, our boy heads straight for the lion's den. His logic is simple. If everyone is too terrified to go near that room, then that's exactly where they'd feel safe hiding the USB. The root of all this misery is that single USB drive containing the alleged violent footage. It's the lethal leverage they're using to blackmail Jaewook and destroy her brother's future. Right now, inside the student council room, that life-ruining USB is being paraded around like a trophy by Jujin, who's wearing a face you just want to punch. But there's no honor among thieves. Before the bald guy can celebrate, a superior storms in and grabs him. In this wolf's den, incompetence gets you treated like trash instantly. With a pathetic scream, Jujin is slammed to the floor and brutally stomped on. It seems that even within the student council, the hierarchy is strict and unforgiving. While the thugs are busy fighting amongst themselves, our strategist Peter Han is already lurking outside. Holding his breath, he watches their every move through the crack in the door. But their malice goes beyond simple bullying. They plug the USB into the computer, planning to upload the video to YouTube and completely destroy the siblings' lives. Listening to their conversation, Peter feels a chill. They aren't doing this for money. They just want the sick satisfaction of watching Jaewook crumble after losing her only family. Now that he knows they have no limits, hesitation is off the table. Peter adjusts his tie, his gaze turning cold. As the brain of the study group, he knows exactly what needs to be done. Meanwhile, the support squad is cooking up a distraction plan. To buy our boy some time, they convince the usually quiet He-Won to start a scene and swear publicly to draw out the student council. Despite being terrified, He-Won swallows her fear for the sake of the team. She steps up, ready to shout the most awkward insult of her life just to cause a commotion. Back in the office, Peter Han is handling the intel side of things. Even with the tension rising regarding Jaewook's disappearance, he keeps his cool, analyzing the situation behind his glasses. The villain himself, Hamel Pie, is just wrapping up a visit to the faculty room. As he leaves, he condescendingly lectures Ms. Lee, claiming that education is just a service and that broken students should simply be abandoned. Hearing her students described as disposable trash strikes a nerve. Ms. Lee stops him in his tracks, her eyes burning with resolve as she prepares to shut down his twisted logic. But before the villain can finish his monologue, a fist comes flying out of nowhere. Someone violently interrupts the conversation, proving that sometimes actions speak louder than words. Timing perfectly with the impact, Ms. Lee's conviction finally bursts out. She screams at the villain's back, declaring that no student in this world deserves to be given up on. As the dust settles, our boy makes his grand entrance with a mocking ta-da. The villain looks completely shook, realizing the crazy student has actually come directly for him. That punch wasn't just an attack, it was a declaration of war against the entire gang. Since talking didn't work, it looks like our boy is about to solve this problem the hard way. The tension in the room spikes, as the antagonist reveals he knew someone was hiding in the locker all along. He drags the eavesdropper out with a cruel smirk, clearly enjoying the fear he's causing. After dealing with the distraction, the bully turns his attention to our boy, taunting him about Jaewook. While Gammon stays silent, the provocation is definitely working, and you can feel the air getting heavier. The guy in purple tries a cheap shot, but karma hits back instantly with a brutal knockout punch from the chaos. Seeing bodies hit the floor, our boy looks genuinely surprised by the sheer violence unfolding. Realizing the situation is spiraling, the ringleader steps up. He has the audacity to challenge our boy to a one-on-one duel, staking Jaewook's safety on the outcome as if she were a prize to be won. Enough talk. Our boy doesn't hesitate. He grabs the guy by the tie before he can finish his sentence. With a swift motion, he slams the antagonist into the ground, wiping that smirk right off his face. That slam did more than just hurt. It knocked loose the real prize. The black USB drive containing the blackmail material skids across the floor, and both of them instantly realize what's at stake. Panic sets in for the villain, as he realizes he's lost control of the leverage. He scrambles to grab it, but our boy is faster, sliding in to intercept the drive before the enemy can recover. Since the fight is on, our boy doesn't hold back, sending these goons flying with smooth KUNE moves. Only from the floor do they realize in terror that they've messed with the monster from Class 4. Watching his squad get wiped out, Jujin finally panics and tries to hide behind the student council's name. But our boy isn't buying it, grabbing him by the collar with a look that clearly says, "You crossed the line." Without another word, our boy lands a heavy punch right on that proud student council uniform. This strike isn't just physical, it's meant to shatter the so-called untouchable authority of this school. The force of the punch sends Jujin flying, leaving the once arrogant officer bloody and pathetic. Looking down at him, our boy coldly returns the little baby insult right back to its owner. Even beaten like this, Jujin keeps spouting disgusting nonsense about the winner getting Jiwoo. Our boy is furious friends aren't objects, and this guy is clearly beyond saving. Cornered and desperate, the villain reveals his true colors, rushing to the computer and hovering over the publish button. He laughs maniacally, threatening to ruin Jiwoo's life with a twisted, insane expression. Realizing this guy is actually going to scorch the earth, our boy screams in panic and rushes to stop him, but those few meters feel like a fatal chasm right now. Just in the nick of time, the dean bursts in because he smelled cigarette smoke. This absurd twist freezes the room instantly, forcing even Jujin to pause for a second. But Jujin just smiles maliciously and clicks the mouse right in front of the teacher, trying to drag everyone down. Strangely, though, the screen doesn't show a successful upload, but draft saved? The scene shifts, revealing this was a setup all along. To help her friend, He-Won seems to have tampered with the file beforehand. In this gamble, everyone is fighting to protect what they cherish. Facing his inner demons, Peter finally stopped running away. He realized that silently enduring the bullying wasn't protecting anyone, especially not his friend Jiwoo. Trembling but determined, he pulled out the hidden USB drive. This was his counterattack. Even if it meant getting beaten up right after, he was going to expose the truth. The student council panicked instantly, screaming to stop him. In a desperate attempt to bury the evidence, they started smashing the equipment before the truth could spread. The scene shifts to 3 months ago. Before the school became a war zone, we see a younger Jujin at a dojo, back when he still had a semblance of sportsmanship. Dominating the mats made him arrogant, and he started to find a twisted joy in the violence. But his boredom was interrupted when a new student, with a familiar orange hue, walked in. Whispers spread through the dojo about Jiwoo Lee, a girl notorious for tearing through male opponents. While the others were intimidated, Jujin just smirked, completely dismissing her. Jujin was busy laughing off the rumors, clearly looking down on her. But Jiwoo wasn't deaf. She turned around with eyes sharp as knives, issuing a direct challenge to his ego. He reached out, expecting an easy target, but was instantly shut down. Jiwoo's grip was iron tight, signaling that this girl was about to teach him a painful lesson. Jiwoo isn't backing down an inch, silencing the trash talkers with her sharp skills, while our boy watches with a hint of amusement. Seeing her fight back only makes Jujin nastier, so he decides to stop playing games and release the blackmail video right then and there. The upload bar fills up rapidly, and as he clicks publish, the villain grins, thinking he's completely destroyed Jiwoo's life. But just milliseconds before the upload completes, our boy steps in and literally yanks the internet cable out of the wall. Problem solved, primitive style. While the villains are still processing the sudden disconnection, our boy grabs the entire PC tower and makes a run for it, signaling a confused Jiwoo to follow. Everyone is shocked to see him sprinting with the hardware, but his plan is simple. If they smash the computer physically, the blackmail is gone forever. But of course, he can't stay cool for long. Our boy trips over his own feet and crashes hard, just as the angry mob catches up to them. The study group members are sprinting for their lives, hauling the heavy computer tower, while the student council goons follow hot on their heels, cutting off their escape. With the building on lockdown and his stamina drained from carrying the heavy load, he realizes there's no way out. Cornered, he decides to take a dangerous gamble. He climbs over the rooftop railing, hoping the danger will force a standoff. But in this corrupt school, the bullies don't care about safety. They just corner him further. The student council guy proves he's completely unhinged. Instead of backing down, he snatches the tower and viciously hurls it into the sky to destroy their last hope. As the computer plummets and the villain gloats, he makes a fatal error by not watching his back. Jiwoo appears from his blind spot with a terrifying greeting. Watching the tower fall, she finally understands the reckless plan our bespectacled boy came up with. And now that the hostage is gone, she doesn't need to hold back. She locks her arms around him and launches them both off the ledge. If the computer is going down, he's coming with it, and the real punishment starts when they land. Jaewoo has finally snapped. She unleashes a devastating judo throw, slamming her blackmailer, Jujin, straight into the ground with bone-rattling force. With the blackmail evidence destroyed, Jaewoo isn't finished yet. She pins him down, staring coldly, and makes it clear she won't stop until she's fully satisfied. The beatdown is so brutal that even the onlookers are terrified, frozen in place as the relentless sounds of impact echo from the rooftop. The bully tries to surrender, claiming he lost, but Jaewoo isn't having it. She grabs him by the hair, reminding him that he doesn't get to decide when this punishment ends. She locks him in a painful submission hold, making him tap out frantically. For Jaewoo, there's no need for sportsmanship or fair play when dealing with trash like him. After completely breaking his spirit, Jaewoo finally lets go. Seeing the once arrogant bully kneeling and trembling on the ground marks the end of her revenge. With the fight over, Jaewoo leaves him with a final warning. If he ever bothers her or her brother again, the consequences will be much worse. A mysterious figure watches from the shadows, tipping his hat. Meanwhile, our boy Gammon, who just wants to study, seems to have attracted some new, unwanted attention. Inside the room, the bad guys realize they've been played. Although the computer data is wiped, they remember the physical backup USB. As long as they have that, they still have leverage over Jaewoo. Outside, timid Hee-won is frantically trying to contact the teacher. But chaos strikes when the crucial USB drive slides across the floor, landing right at her feet. She reaches for it, but another hand slams down first. A delinquent girl intercepts her, instantly recognizing the valuable drive and realizing she's stumbled upon something huge. The girl snatches the drive and takes off, literally running along the walls. Hee-won is paralyzed with fear, knowing that if that USB disappears, all their hard work and Jaewoo's future is doomed. In her moment of despair, Hee-won remembers her friends trying to teach her how to be tough. They forced her to practice swearing just to build courage. Now she has to use that. Hee-won takes a deep breath and screams at the top of her lungs. It actually works. The girl is so shocked by the sudden outburst from the quiet student that she falters for a split second. Seizing that brief hesitation, Hee-won lunges forward and grabs her ankle in a death grip. Seeing the fierce determination on the terrified girl's face, the enemy realizes she's messed with the wrong person. Remembering all the time she was stepped on, Hee-won finally snaps. For the sake of her friend, she throws a desperate punch that sends the bully flying, knocking the crucial USB drive right out of her hands. She stands there panting, staring at her own hands in disbelief. Maybe knowing she's transferring anyway gave her the guts to finally fight back, but she's just as shocked as the bully on the floor. Meanwhile, the boys are clearing up the aftermath of their fight, thinking the worst is over. But they have no idea that the real madness is just about to begin. Just when Hee-won thinks she's safe, a chilling voice speaks from behind. It's Jujin, back for revenge. Hooded and unhinged, he's clutching a knife, looking like he's completely lost his mind. Ignoring everyone's screams, Jujin sprints down the hallway like a rabid dog. He's got tunnel vision on his target, and the sheer murderous intent coming off him freezes everyone in their tracks. Haunted by the manipulative words of the gang leader, Jujin snaps completely. He raises the knife and brings it down with lethal force, and for a split second, time seems to stop. At the very last second, someone throws themselves in the way. It's their teacher, Mr. Lee. Without a distinct thought for his own safety, he blocks the knife with his body, shielding his students from the blow. Seeing the teacher go down and the assassination fail, the remaining gang members panic. Knowing they can't handle our boy Gammon's fighting skills, they realize the game is up and scramble to retreat. As they dig deeper, the shadow looming over the school finally gets a name. Pale White, a major gang in Incheon led by the notorious Hamble Pie. Seeing that Ms. Lee doesn't grasp the gravity of the situation, the student spells it out. Digging into this won't just get her fired, it could literally get her killed. All clues point to the silver-haired puppet master. It turns out every act of bullying and extortion in the school ultimately funnels back to Hamble Pie. Putting the pieces together, Ms. Lee realizes where Hyanu's injuries came from. Looking at the battered student, she demands to know if Hamble is the one pulling his strings. Just then, our boy drops in like a superhero ready to throw hands, but Ms. Lee surprisingly stays calm. She signals Gammon to stand down, because she has a better way to handle this. The scene shifts to the police station. The spectacle-wearing student, terrified of getting caught, tries to run, but Ms. Lee stops him in his tracks with a single question. The moment his parents are mentioned, the tough guy act crumbles. As he kneels and begs for mercy, Ms. Lee offers him one condition: tell her the whole truth. To understand Hyena's fall from grace, the teacher and Gammon listen to his backstory. It turns out the guy now known as a mad dog was actually the top-ranked student in middle school. The only reason a model student who just wanted to study turned into a gangster was to protect his twin sister Jaiwoo, who also attends this chaotic school. It turns out Hyunu and his sister grew up relying on each other in an orphanage. They left with barely enough money to survive, let alone thrive in this harsh world. To support his sister's education, Hyunu gave up on his own studies. He tried to earn money the honest way, until he met the devil himself, Hamel Pai. Hamel knew exactly how to manipulate him. He mocked honest work, then took Hyena's meager savings and doubled them instantly through online gambling. To a desperate kid, Hamel looked like a god. Just like that, the former honor student fell from grace and became nothing more than Hamel's violent enforcer. Back in the present, Ms. Lee meets up with our boy after getting his text. She reveals a terrifying detail: Jujin didn't just scam Hyunu, he messed with his sister too. That crosses the line. Ms. Lee is terrified because she knows if Hyuna finds out the truth, he won't just get mad, he might actually try to kill the guy. She's terrified because this brings back a traumatic memory. She once witnessed firsthand how Hamel corrupts minds, leading to irreversible tragedy and bloodshed. Back then, she tried to reach the lost students, asking if they still wanted to study deep down, but Hamel's grip was already too strong to break. In her darkest memories, Hamel just stood in the shadows wearing that arrogant smile, mocking the fragility of the so-called right path. Looking down at the police swarming in, Hamel doesn't panic. Even though his pawn is finished, he just smiles, already calculating his next move. His thoughts shift to Teacher Lee. Remembering the vow to kick him out of the school, Hamel whispers the name with a chilling grin, accepting the challenge.